Welcome to another half hour of Words Make People. A word is anything that brings a message to your mind. And you know, our program, it just goes by so fast. A half an hour in time, it just goes by so fast. And so we have a very special guest with us today. I don't want to waste a lot of time. I'd like for you, as always, to please call a friend, a neighbor, a relative, a cousin, co-worker. Let them know that Dr. Alice Green from Law and Justice is here today to share with us some thoughts and to give us some understanding of the program she's been with for so long. And so I just want you to please tune in and listen carefully, get your pen and paper, take some notes, because I believe this is a program that's very, very positive in our community, and we really want to commend Dr. Alice Green. Dr. Alice Green, welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so based on the time frame that we have, we want to allow for Dr. Alice Green to get most of that time. I'm not going to be speaking as much. I don't have a hidden agenda or anything like that. We want Dr. Alice Green to share with us how we can support her program and understand what her program does. I was really excited to hear at one time that the program for restorative justice that came in from Seattle, Washington, I just thought in my tenure over close to 70 years was an excellent program, and I never heard anything like that before in my tenure since I was born and raised in Harlem. So Dr. Green, please share with us, what inspired you, what caused you to get involved in such a program and up until this very day?
Well, I think you have to understand a little bit about the history of the Center for Law and Justice. We're now into our 34th year of the Center for Law and Justice here in Albany. And we started because of an incident that happened in Albany. A man named Jesse Davis, who was mentally handicapped, a black young man, was shot and killed by the police. And we were concerned about that, but later we learned that the police version of the shooting was not correct. It was totally incorrect. The police department knew this man. They knew he had mental handicap. And he was making a little disturbance in the street. Because of that. And for some reason, they decided that they needed to do something about it and follow them into his up to his apartment. He locked the door, and they went around to the roof and looked in, and he was making a disturbance. There's no doubt about that. But they knew he was mentally handicapped. And what their response was to shoot him a number of times, and they killed him. And the explanation was that he came at them with a knife and a fork to attack them. And we thought this was strange, but one of the things we found out was that a police officer who came on the scene took photographs of this dying man on the floor. And in his hand was a keychain and a toy truck, which tells you, a lot about who he was. And they knew that. So we asked for the grand jury to issue a report because the police had already said that they were justified in killing him. So the community understood what had happened. And I think at this time, the community decided that it had to respond to this injustice. And so they did, because you have to understand that the black community had been pretty much controlled up to this point by a democratic machine. But this was the last straw. So the community organized itself, and we made it known that this could not happen again in the city of Albany. Unfortunately, it's happened since then. But the point is that the community was organized and said that we have to do something ourselves about making sure the police treat black people as equal to all other people.
Very good.
And so that sort of took off, and it really bothered me that this had happened.
Mm-hmm.
So my involvement became one of trying to find a way to have something in our community that would allow people to not only express their concerns, but to work for change.
Sure.
And so that's how the Center for Law and Justice got started.
Okay.
And we realized also that the problem was not just with policing,
Mm-hmm.
but that the criminal justice system is an unjust system, as many of our institutions are.
Sure.
But we decided that we were going to have something that would be put into place that would allow people to get information
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on, to call for change in the department regarding training, and also treatment of people responding to the needs of all people in the community.
Yes.
And so the center was born out of that. But as I said, we realized that there was more to this than just policing.
Okay.
That
All
the
right.
whole entire criminal justice system needed to be monitored, and that policies and practices and needed to be developed, and we need to hold these different pieces of the criminal justice system accountable
Yes.
for what they were doing.
Yes.
So that's how we sort of started, and we've just sort of been going along those lines for
Okay.
a long time.
Well, you bring up some significant concerns that got me going here right now, you know, and so it just brings three things to my mind. One, the 13th Amendment. And certainly the 13th Amendment, involuntary servitude or slavery should not exist,
Right.
except, and we're working right now on a national level with other people that believe that that should be rescinded, that amendment, or amended, because
Absolutely.
it should not be except. It shouldn't be there at all. And so what can replace that, or nothing really has to replace that except, but we have a concept that we believe that prisoners maybe should work for minimum wage. And so this way they can have a mandatory savings. They can send money home to their child,
yeah.
which does something real dignified for their children. Because I'm retired from the Federal Bureau of New York State Department of Corrections, and the highest paid prisoner when I was there working in Green Haven Prison was $32 a month. And I understand now the highest paid is $66 a month. And so you also raise the issue of, still instances like that. This is happening right now. And we interviewed Chief Wiley after the alert program that was put on 2 months ago at the Ramada Inn Hotel that was sponsored by Pastor David. And in short, Chief Wiley said that with all the issues that's going on and the resources for helping mental health people is not there, it compounds the law enforcement responsibility. And so if it does that, yes, I believe it does cause for law enforcement to have an additional responsibility because resources are not going to people who need help in mental health. However, now, it also triple compounds it when there's those in law enforcement that carry the badge that may be racist, that may be of hatred, that may have a nationalist perspective. And that even makes it even worse now because the last issue we had here in Albany was that our district attorney did not prosecute David, Mr. Azaria, who had shot in the back. And so, but the grand jury had already released the officer and he retired. And so if the DA is not going to prosecute because he can't find any evidence for any wrongdoing on the behalf, then where do we go from here? That clearly tells us something, okay? And so you only bring these issues up when you started about the history, and so you make it perfectly clear that it's still needed and still ongoing.
Right. You mentioned the 13th Amendment. I think our organization was one of the first that I'm aware of who really pushed that issue because we saw that what was happening in the criminal justice system,
yes,
especially in prisons. I've done a lot of work in prison since we started, but the whole notion that we were using the criminal justice system to basically re-enslave people.
Yes.
And so I worked with a number of incarcerated people and especially after Attica.
Yes.
And
which comes on TV every year.
Right. So, as I said, we've worked together inside the prisons. We brought community people inside. We did a lot of work with the people incarcerated, and met some of the most brilliant people that I know of.
Yes.
Who opened our eyes to how that 13th Amendment approach really affects particularly people in our community.
You better believe it. It's very systemic, and it allows to perpetuate a ongoing enslavement for the entire community.
Right.
Because men, in other words, I had mentioned to the chief of police as well as DA Soares that if in fact officers are afraid that they're going to get shot by an African American male, I don't know of any history in America up until this very day that African American men that have a gun is shooting police officers or beating up police officers.
Right.
Their guns to do black on black crime.
Yeah.
And so therefore, how is this mindset that they're always afraid of an African American wanting to shoot them?
Yeah. Well, it comes actually from the 13th Amendment issue, because this country was not about to give up the whole notion of enslavement.
Yes.
So they have to find other ways to enslave. And one of the things that slavery did was to stereotype black people as dangerous, dumb, dangerous people. And we've spent a lot of time in this country trying to define black people as inherently criminal. So I think most people have bought that, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that's right.
And certainly police and criminal justice people have bought that, and so they react and respond to black people as inherently criminal.
Yeah. Well,
and that affects how they treat them.
Absolutely. And we share on this program with Words Made People that the number one crime is self-abuse. How do you use yourself, or how you allow yourself to be used? And we say Words Made People, meaning from plantation life. Plantation, in the word plantation is the word plant. In the word plant is the word plan. What was the plan that was planted in the minds of those for you to have learned habits that you don't understand how you got the habit of perpetuating self-abuse on self?
Well, I think also the issue you alluded to regarding wages is very important.
Absolutely.
Because the problem with everything is that, I mean, there's capitalism that had to rely on cheap labor and free labor.
Yes, absolutely.
So African Americans are still saddled with that whole problem of enslavement because we still, in this country, want to treat them that way because of capitalism. So we underpay them. We find it difficult to employ them in good positions.
Yes.
You know, all of that comes to bear. So I was talking to a group. Actually, they didn't ask me to present this, but I was talking to a group last night who had just bought Corecraft furniture.
Yes, Corecraft, that's right.
So I took the opportunity to say, okay, you know, everybody was enjoying this beautiful furniture. I said, it is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And but I want you to remember who probably made that furniture and what they were paid, and that therefore, when the legislature says you have to think about increasing the wages for people who are incarcerated, just remember who made that furniture.
Who made that furniture?
Right.
Wow.
And the other thing is we've never allowed African Americans and some other people to freely vote in this country. So we're talking also about the 15th Amendment. And we found all kinds of ways to suppress the right to vote. And one of the things that the Center for Law and Justice has been pushing, and people are not understanding why we feel so strongly about this, is that people who are incarcerated should have the right to vote.
Yes.
We believe in universal suffrage, that the right to vote is a very basic principle of democracy.
That's right.
And when you decide that at least 7 million people cannot vote because they have a felony conviction and are incarcerated, something's wrong.
Yes.
And it's been even difficult for progressive people who are identified as progressive people and groups to reject the whole idea of having people incarcerated vote.
Yes.
And I point out that, in Vermont and Maine, people who are incarcerated are allowed to vote. And nothing has happened
Sure.
in those states
Yes.
to destroy anything.
Absolutely.
So it's very important that your voice be represented
Yes.
in this society. So that's the kind of thing that we do. We do a lot of
Good.
education and try to change policy.
Excellent. Well, we see our listening audience, you hearing Dr. Alice Green, and she's speaking from her heart, very sincere. And I believe we would like to have her at least once a month to come on our program, if not twice a month, to share more information with us, because this one setting is not going to do it. Be assured of that. You have to understand and believe that what she's sharing with you right now today is resonating in you. Concepts of the past freedom fighters that brought up ideas and concepts as such as she's bringing up right now. So, Dr. Alice Green, please, you must understand, this one show is not going to get it. There has to be another program after this one here. This one's not even over yet, but just based on the information that's so sincere and important that people need to know how and what else that the Center for Law and Justice does and what they're involved in and how they are tied into the community for the most benefit for the community, that we would like for you to come on again, and please, I hope you would accept that. Give us some time. I don't want to put you on the spot right now, but give us some time. But I think this is the type of information that's needed in the community to allow for people to really understand if they're on point or not. But tell us more about the Center for Law and Justice and some of the other things, please.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think you were referring to the LEAD program.
The LEAD program, that's right, absolutely. Out of Seattle, yes.
Yeah, the center actually came up with the idea that this should be brought to Albany.
Okay.
It's called the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program. And the whole idea is, first of all, we don't want our people to have more convictions for criminal behavior. Because once you're convicted, I'm sure you know that things really change.
Yes.
Employment becomes difficult, housing becomes difficult, you're unable to benefit from so many programs in this country.
Just because of that conviction. That
right.
pen,
so there's a collateral damage that is associated with it. So I had read about a report that was done at the New York Academy of Medicine, which had looked at how we were dealing with criminal behavior related to drugs.
Yes.
And as you know, African Americans have suffered more than any other group regarding the war on drugs. And so we looked at that, and they said that we really need to think about changing the way we deal with drug addiction and drug use. That drugs should be seen as a health issue.
Yes.
Not a criminal justice issue. And so we wanted to push that, and the center became involved in getting people in the community to talk to the New York Academy of Medicine when they were doing their research. And once they completed the research and had a report, they came out with the recommendation that the policy be changed, that we focus more on prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and public safety. Because public safety is served when people are treated for whatever condition they have.
Yes.
So we got the police department interested, Albany Police Department interested in this concept. We were invited to Seattle, which had started this type of program.
Yes.
And so we went out there for a week to see exactly how it operated.
Wow.
Came back, and we were able to institute the program in the city of Albany, which allows persons who might be picked up by the police for some kind of behavior, instead of arresting them, they will be diverted and sent to a case manager who can find out exactly what this person needs and how they could fit into our community. So you don't end up with a conviction record.
Right.
That's the important
Yes, that's
thing.
right.
You don't end up with a conviction record. And so we started it 3 years ago.
Yes.
And the program's been working great. We've worked with the police department. They have been wonderful. We've helped with the training.
I was on Chief Cox when he was here.
Yeah, it started with Chief Krokoff and then Cox.
Okay, good.
Right. So we've worked with every chief since then.
Very good.
Which is, because we first got the police department interested in community policing, which was the basic for approach and philosophy, I think, in dealing with all of these things. So now the program is in existence. I think we have something in the neighborhood of 175 people who've been diverted
Wow.
from the system.
Wow.
They're into case management.
That's progress.
Yes, definitely. And the real concern with harm reduction is to make sure as a community we are dealing with these problems and the people who are involved in a very humane way, in a way that does not harm them but helps them.
Yes.
And so we're really proud of that work that we've done with the police department. But you also mentioned, and I will certainly respond to it. There is a case now which has been troubling, of course. The,
Yes.
Eleazar Williams.
Eleazar
case.
Williams, yes.
Right. Yeah. He unfortunately ran from the police and was shot, and he was shot in the back. I think some people are trying to redefine what the back is, but I mean,
Yeah, I understand.
I've been with him ever since he was shot, and I can see
Sure.
where the bullet went in. But at any rate, we felt we had to respond at the Center for Law and Justice, and this is what we do a lot. There's an individual case that we might work on, trying to meet the needs of an individual who somehow are involved with the criminal justice system,
Okay.
but also raise bigger issues.
Yes.
And so that's what we did. We responded to the report that was issued by the department and pointed out some of the problems we saw in that report.
Was it at the Common Council meeting they had, and before? Or I remember you were there, and you were really expressing it and giving that information out to the community.
Right, that
the
was-
community was there as well too.
Yeah, we
part
had,
of it.
yes, we had given our report so the community could really understand
Yes.
what was happening. We also were concerned about how the district attorney was going to be handling this case, because he was responsible for both the detective,
Yes.
James Olson, and Eleazar Williams, who had been charged with menacing. So we got the community involved in this. The community did a petition drive. We had meetings, and they saw the video, and they came away with the belief that Eleazar was not menacing, and he was running away from the police.
Yes.
And that's been the issue. The center has worked since he was shot, was trying to make sure that the family got housing, medical care, and other human services.
Excellent.
So we do that, but we're trying to deal with this issue of how, grand juries are handled.
Sure.
How information and reports are given to the community, which we think the community is entitled to,
Yes.
and the whole issue of being accountable.
Yes. Absolutely.
So we're still working with that. We're also, working on some other legislation,
Okay.
like we're concerned about bail reform, that many of our people end up in jail simply because they cannot afford to pay for their
bail.
freedom.
And they stay there all this time, huh? We have about 4 minutes left. Whatever thoughts you may have that you want to give, I want you to just share those thoughts in this last 4 minutes. The time goes by so fast
Yeah,
every
I
time,
know it does.
So
It does.
please share with us whatever you like to share with us in
Yeah.
this last 4 minutes,
Okay.
Dr.
I just want
Alice.
people to understand that Center for Law and Justice, as I said, have been around for a long time, but it's a community-based organization.
Okay.
We're not a bureaucracy. We depend heavily upon people volunteering for the work we do. We find we employ people who have been incarcerated. Because
Okay. Very good.
you can't say something and not
That's
practice
excellent.
it
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
So we
That's,
do,
that's excellent.
and we've found that they've been, some of our best staff people.
Yes.
So we encourage the community to come out when we're doing, and suggest issues that the community needs to talk about.
Okay. Very
And
good.
so we do hold community forums
Mm-hmm.
at various times to talk about the issues of concern to us.
Okay.
And so we're always open,
Yes.
for suggestions and ideas.
Well, please give us an address or
Yeah,
telephone number or
okay.
website or
Yeah.
email.
Okay, we're located at 220 Green Street,
220 Green Street.
which is, on the first floor of the Albany Housing Authority,
Okay.
and which is great. We love being there.
Okay.
And so people come in.
Yes.
They come in with all of their problems, their issues. Our telephone number is area code 518-427-8361.
Okay. Repeat that
And-
again, please, one more time.
Yeah, 518
Okay.
427-8361.
All right.
And people do call us if they have a legal issue, because we have an attorney who gives free guidance and
Okay.
information on
Good.
Thursdays. We have a Thursdays program that we work with Albany Medical Center on. They provide information about insurance and other information about health systems.
Yes.
So we encourage people to come on Thursdays
Okay.
to do that.
What time is it on Thursdays? Or is it all day or
Well, you can call. It's really from 1 to 5.
1 to 5?
For service day.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think our website. I'm bad on these.
That's okay.
You can also find us on the web,
Okay.
cflj@verizon.com.
All right.
And we have a website.
Okay.
CF for Center for Law and Justice.
Very good.
So we have a website that will give people more information about what we do.
Okay. Very good.
So we'd
Well,
be happy to have the community involved.
I got the 2-minute signal, and so we really appreciate you coming on today. I think we had a wealth of knowledge we have here that's very pertinent, very important for the overall community, because any injustice for any one group of people hurts the entire community.
Absolutely.
And so when we see this dichotomy that's going on, we have to give you your props and your I would say we're looking for words, and the right words is to give you the most important words we can possibly share with you that will allow for us to say thank you. Because there's not a lot of people doing this kind of work. There are those people that's afraid to do this type of work. And the type of work we're talking about is bringing justice after all these years. And so I really appreciate you and really hope that the program continues. And I'm quite sure the people that work there. And I received the same information that you received. Those individuals that's in prison that know that there's an entity that's out here working, they are sincere and they will come devote themselves and work, and they will work in prison for you as well too.
Oh yes.
And so we really appreciate you, Dr. Alspin, for coming on, and hopefully you will give time for us again to come on again and on a regular basis, because I think it's very, very important. And I'm saying to you, use this forum that we have here on our radio show. Hopefully you will come on our radio show as well too, and allow for you to share at any given time you want to the public exactly just what you'd like for them to hear. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thank you, folks. Assalamu alaikum.